Scott DesJarlias joins us. Congressman DesJarlias. Now, it's been a month of Sundays since we've had a chance to talk to Scott. It's not for lack of trying on both of our parts. We've been trying to get our schedules together, and they finally did come together, just so long as you don't get called to vote again, right, Scott? I mean, is voting over for now, or what do you think?
We have finished voting. I didn't know I had to follow Burchett and Jacobs. My gosh.
No, it's probably better to walk in a room with Burchett than with Jacobs, because he's like 12 feet tall, right?
He's a big boy.
Well, it's always good to catch up with you, Scott, and to get your thoughts on a lot of what's going on. Obviously, a lot of our attention on the fifth day of protest/riots in Los Angeles and Donald Trump's reaction to some of this. He had some remarks at Fort Bragg earlier today where he made it clear that flying the American flag is the only appropriate flag to fly, and that we were going to take a heavy-handed approach when it comes to lawbreakers when necessary. I'm interested in your thoughts about what's going on in L.A. and the presidential approach.
Well, considering the response we had to some of the prior riots over the last few years, whether it was George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, hands up, don't shoot, I'm out, you name it. There was an awful lot of destruction, damage, people killed, and I wish there had been a stronger response to those.
Well, yeah, no question about it, and hopefully we get some of this squashed down. I feel like you have to take more of a heavy-handed approach. It doesn't seem like California believes in that. However, if you don't, I believe the coordination is such that you'll see this spread to other cities around the country. Is that your fear as well? And do you have any concerns that this might reach metropolitan areas in the state of Tennessee, Scott?
Well, there's rumors that there's going to be rallies this coming weekend. They're calling it the No Kings rally that's going to be going on around the district, Murfreesboro, several different counties where people are going to go out and basically protest Trump, and I hope they stay peaceful. But it was interesting. I had CNN on today, and they had a reporter there showing all the National Guardsmen and Marines and how there was nothing going on. It was peaceful, nothing to see, and then all of a sudden you start hearing the rubber bullets fired, people throwing water bottles, getting tackled, and they had to break away from it because they just got done saying it was all calm and peaceful. So they had to break away to Jake Tapper because they didn't want you to see what was really going on. And I don't know if you saw it. I sent you a clip from yesterday where one of the reporters was saying, I don't think it's right to bring the police in here to escalate this. There's just a bunch of people having fun watching the cars burn. And no need to spoil their fun.
No. And Scott,
I texted to you.
Oh, no. Let me let everybody listen to this. Scott sent this to me. So it's local ABC News affiliate, ABC 7, out of California. This is unbelievable. So yesterday we saw the Wago, or whatever those cars were called, the self-driving vehicles that got burned in the streets yesterday, and this was the local news reaction to it.
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
A bunch of people having fun. Just like the DesJarlias and the Murphy family, we're just out on the lake, just having a good time, watching the boats go by. We're just having a good time watching the cars burn. I mean, that's amazing.
I know. Yeah, no need to escalate that. We bring police in, and anyway, it's remarkable that John Fetterman actually probably had one of the most coherent statements that Democrats are losing the high ground when they're supporting these rioters, these illegals, flying flags from other countries, burning American flags in the street, throwing whatever they can throw, rocks off underpasses of cars, and saying that that's not a problem. And so it's interesting that Fetterman has become the voice of reason in the Democratic Party, but it's a losing issue. And between Pelosi and Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom saying, there's not a problem when their own chief of police is saying, hey, we can't handle this, we need help.
Congressman Scott DesJarlias is with us talking about the latest in rioting in California and whatnot. I've been saying this for long enough that my regulars are probably tired of me hearing it, but I want to get your thoughts on it, Scott, because I ask my liberal friends and buddies, I don't have many of them anymore, but I ask them two simple questions. Absent any thought about Trump or anything else going on today, should there be a set of rules to get into the United States of America? And the obvious answer is yes. I mean, if someone says no, then understand you're talking to a moron and move on. But should there be...
You have no country.
Right. Should there be rules to get into the U.S.? And if yes, then what do you do to the people that break them? And I don't... And I ask those questions predicated on not understanding what these folks are protesting. I genuinely don't understand what they want.
Right. No, I'm with you. We had votes today to disallow non-citizens to vote here in D.C., and I think that I'm not sure that they can't vote in California. I don't think they can ask them if they're a citizen or not.
Right.
So when you have people that are not part of this country, that are not citizens voting in our elections, if they don't see a problem with that, then we really don't have a country. If you don't have borders and anybody can come in, and basically that's what I think Karen Bass and Maxine Waters and people in California were saying, that these people should all be made citizens. And it's like, well, we're already paying for education. We're paying for food. If you're under 18, you get food stamps automatically. If you seek asylum and get it, you get food stamps. The average cost to put up one illegal per year is somewhere north of $80,000, and we don't even take care of our own people that way. And so, how they can get behind that cause and with a straight face tell you that's what they believe, I just don't understand it. So I think your questions of your friends are totally appropriate. And if you took Trump out of the equation and politics out of the equation, any rational person would probably answer that appropriately.
Representative, speaking of voting, obviously the most important votes that have come out of this Congress, really, with the possible exception of the continuing resolution, would be the big, beautiful bill, the vote that happened in the House of Representatives. I've not had a chance to talk with you about it. I've talked to many of your colleagues, but I know that the vast majority of the Republicans, save one or two, were in lockstep. They wanted to get this through into the Senate. I'm hopeful that the Senate can make it better, and by better, I mean save us a little more money on the front end, not just promises on the back end. I'm on record as not being very comfortable with this bill, but I understand why someone in your position would be compelled to vote for it. I just wanted you an opportunity to speak to our audience and talk about your vote and what you hope the Senate can do to potentially improve the bill.
Well, one, I think we're kind of bogged down on a lot of other things we need to be getting done until we get through this. So, I mean, you're dealing with a slim majority, as you know, in the House and the Senate. I've been a fiscal conservative since I've been in Congress, and do I think that on face value this saves enough money? I don't know. You hear reports it's going to raise the deficit by so many trillion, but it doesn't count for whether or not Trump's attempt to fix the economy by making people, or not making, but bringing manufacturing back, creating American jobs, getting Americans back to work, getting more people pulling the wagon instead of sitting in it. If that strategy actually works and we start generating revenue, this could be a moneymaker. And that was the whole thing. People did not like the Biden economy. They elected Trump for the border security, which in my mind he's already fixed. They elected him to strengthen the military, which we are fixing. Recruiting's up, we're meeting records, and they want him to rebuild our economy. Well, that doesn't happen overnight. He's got a plan, he's got a strategy, and in this bill, it's very complicated, it's very big. There's things in it that normally just as a standalone, I wouldn't want to vote for. You probably wouldn't either, but I don't think we have a choice other than to get this thing across the finish line. And then on the back end, as you said, I don't like back end deals either because they tend to fall by the wayside. But I think that the people had a mandate to elect President Trump. In my district, Trump got the same amount of votes I did. And I guarantee more people are interested in Trump getting elected than me getting elected. So I feel it's my duty to support President Trump's agenda. And so my answer to your question in a long roundabout way, I want to see this pass. I think if we don't get it passed, then we have a very good chance of a quick trip to the minority. It happened in 2017. We had three major items to work on. We got the tax cuts done, which were very popular, and we didn't get other things done, and we lost the House. So I think let's at least go down, fight, and let's get this passed. Let's do the best we can to tighten it up, get more savings that you talked about, and probably some of my colleagues talked about, but we've got to come together in the House. We've got to come together in the Senate. We got to get this done to complete what I would consider was a mandate in this last election. And we voted Trump to make these changes and to put his ideas forth. And I think it's our duty to support him.
I hear what you're saying, Representative, and I appreciate it. And it's a well-answered question. At the same time, in my experience, when we talk about budgetary savings, we always see the spending on the front end and the savings on the back end, and we never get to the savings.
Yeah. Yeah, and if somebody can come up with a better idea, I mean, whether it's your idea, whether it's Tim Burch's idea, whether it's the Senate that can get 218 votes in the House and get 51 votes in the Senate,
I hear you.
It will do a better job. I am all for that. That would be my new favorite bill. And we got to understand that there's people across the country that don't vote the way we do in Tennessee. And if you want to keep the majority, I mean, like the salt taxes. I don't care about salt taxes in New York. I think they're a ripoff. We don't have state income tax in Tennessee. It's not my problem, but it is a problem for a lot of people in other states. And so, you have to take into account, if we're going to keep the majority, we have to keep those people happy. I want a strong military. I want the Golden Dome, and I want things like that. It's going to cost money. But if you don't have security, to me, we all talk about the economy, but if we're not safe and we don't have a strong military, then you don't really care what a loaf of bread costs. You want to make sure your family is going to be alive and well the next morning. So I think, my number one priority is getting our military back to where it needs to be. And then obviously we got to take care of the debt. But, Trump has a strategy through tariffs and other things that make people nervous because he's gambling with their money. But I think in the end, he knows how to make deals, and other countries are more nervous about it than we are.
Speaking of other things going on in Congress and Washington, D.C., I mean, obviously there are other matters before the Congress, and I know you guys are working too. I mean, do we see some light at the end of the tunnel regarding codifying some of the EOs? I know many of your colleagues have talked about this. I know you've spoken about it as well, Scott. What do you say?
Yeah, no, I think that we'll get that done, and that's why I think we need to go ahead and get this reconciliation behind us, because it seems to be paralyzing Congress. So I think once you get that done, we can go through and work on that. I've got a couple I'm working on. I know several other people that are working on these things, but getting them codified is so important because, as you know, the pendulum in Washington can swing every 4 years. And with a stroke of the pen, everything that we like can be undone in terms of regulation, energy, and you name it, pretty much every area that Trump has put in place to undo what the Biden administration did to us. And so I think it's extremely important that we walk and chew gum and focus. But, getting this thing off our plate would be a step in the right direction so we can focus on those things.
Congressman, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you again next time.
Don't put too many dollars in the swear jar.